Are you ready to test your brain and have some fun? In this episode of our ongoing Trivia Challenge series, we've got an exciting set of general knowledge trivia questions designed to entertain and boost your knowledge. From fascinating facts to brain-teasing questions, this video is perfect for trivia lovers, curious minds, and anyone looking for a quick mental challenge. Whether you're playing alone or with friends, see how many questions you can get right. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of this exciting series. Comment your score below and challenge others to beat it.